change. And I knew there would be some time when I would second guess my mind.
Changers with Lisa Faulkner.
She's definitely an advocate for positive change.
She talks to people who's actually found their own niche in today's marketplace.
You're listening to Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner.
Lisa is a game changer,
And she's keeping it real. Entrepreneurs,
executives, entertainers,
ministers.
I'm gonna kick back with Lisa Faulkner for the next hour.
Because she knows what she's talking about.
And she's got it going on.
Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for another hour of Game Changers with me, Lisa Faulkner. I'm your host. So excited that you've joined us for this July 22nd Game Changers. I think it's going to be a great show. Stay with us. Hey, Game Changers. You know all the great ways you can listen to the show. Hope you're listening live right now on WAEC Love 860. Love it when you tune in here on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Can't wait for you to listen each week as we bring you all of these great game changers. If you're on the go and you got to keep moving, you can listen on either of your radio apps. That's iHeart, TuneIn, or iRadio Now. You just look up WAEC Love 860, and there you will find Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner airing live at this hour. And if you happen to miss us, then you can catch all of the great podcasts on iHeart. You know what? That's the big news for Game Changers. Not only can you get us on iTunes now when we're not on the air, I always tell you to go to iTunes and get the podcast. When we're not on the air, you could also go to iHeart now and get the podcast, subscribe to the Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner podcast, and listen to all of your great Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner podcasts when we're not on the air. That's either on iHeartRadio or iTunes. So I'm very excited about that, both those picking us up, iTunes and iHeartRadio. So please continue to check us out, and I will continue to thank you so much for your support. Follow me on Facebook, guys, Lisa M. Faulkner, LinkedIn, Lisa Faulkner, Twitter at PenstarLisa, Instagram and Pinterest, PenstarLisa there. I will continue to check your comments and connect with you. Game Changers, we are live. If you have any questions this hour, we welcome your comments and feedback. You can call us at 404-355-8699. If you need to call long distance, call 866-923-2860. We're going to be discussing a pretty important subject this hour from a pretty important game changer who has changed the odds on this subject for himself and many others. So let's just dive right in. He was abandoned at 10 years old by his biological parents and entered foster care. Between 10 and 15, he moved 21 times and went to 6 junior high schools and 5 junior highs and 5 high schools. At 15, he was placed with Robin and Caroline Griffith, with his last set of foster parents, who have been his true parents to this day. During his time with them, they entered him into martial arts and ROTC, which changed him greatly. This was part of his anger management program, but fell in love with the martial arts, and through much training and competition, eventually won the Team USA trials and won the World Martial Arts Championships. He also graduated college with 2 degrees and now is the founder and CEO of JH Brands, his motivational speaking, mentoring, and training business. He is also the author of Your Amazing Itty Bitty Foster and Adoptive Parent Guide. which will also be available December 7th. With that, I just want to say welcome to Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner, James Poindexter III.
Hello.
Welcome, James. Wow.
Hey.
What a journey, brother. Welcome. You know, James, you did something very few guests do, and that is you sent in a short bio as requested, but I have a feeling that there's a lot more info between these lines you sent us. How does one move from 21 different foster homes? What started your journey? Let's start there. Why were you estranged from your biological parents?
I'm not really sure. I never did get the whole story on why they left because a lot of the people who knew the information have already passed on. Was mostly my grandparents who knew all the real information, and my biological mother also passed. So a lot of answers I still don't have them. But I know that before I left, there was a lot of abuse, and when the abuse was caught, then they would starve us, and then after that was finally caught, then mom left, and then dad left, and then that's when it all started.
Wow. Did you say when the abuse was cut, C-U-T, or caught, C-A-U-G-H-T?
Oh, caught, C-A-U-G-H-T.
Wow, really? So when the abuse was found out, mom and dad just kind of left the scene, and therefore you ended up in foster care.
It was kind of like that. They would beat us, and then finally, because I have a sister also, and they would beat us pretty bad, where they would leave bruises on our bodies and stuff. And when it got discovered by a teacher, she sent a DHHR worker to our house, and he told them they couldn't hit us anymore, or they were gonna remove us from their house. So then they started to starve us. They wouldn't let us eat for 2 or 3 days. And somewhere in there, mom left dad, and then took my sister and left. And then dad wanted mom back, so he left to go get her back and left me in a house.
Wow. And these were your biological parents?
Yeah.
And you had one sibling, one sister?
Yes.
Well, God bless you. So there was a mention of anger management in there. So I can see how the anger started to build, not really being clear on why all of this was happening to you, not really being clear on your parents' motives, and then being without them, and then just kind of tossed here and there from one foster home to the next. Now, James, you experienced enough foster homes and parents to be an expert on the matter, I would say. What did you find to be the overriding reason most people become foster parents? Why was the reason also that you experienced so many different homes?
Okay. So to answer the first question, I found out that a lot of foster parents, they genuinely want to help. They're just people, they genuinely have a open heart and want to help. They want to help a kid out. And foster care in itself is temporary. So the point of foster care is just to keep a kid until they reunite with their biological family. That's normally what the point is. And so it's usually a temporary thing. So you end up moving just because of that. But usually what happens is the biological parents, for some reason, the kid's removed. And let's just hypothetically say, let's say the parents are alcoholics. So they beat the kid gets removed from the home. So then the parents have to go to AA, then they have to do something else and something else, something else. And once they meet all those qualifications, then they're reunited back with their kid again. So during the time that they're meeting those qualifications, the kid has to stay somewhere else, and that's where the foster parents come in. And so if the parents can't take the kid back, then still the biological family, whether it be an aunt, an uncle, or someone like that, if they want to take over and be legal guardian, the biological family usually has precedence over the situation. But in my case, it was my family who put me in foster care.
Wow.
So Yeah, so they kind of tricked me in a way. They got me to emancipate myself from my parents, and then they threw me in foster care. And
Wow.
and
Well,
this
you help us. You help us in a way because there are so many myths and conversations out here about foster parents and the foster system, and most of it is negative. A lot of the talk is that people just do it for the money or for a check, if you will. But
uh
it's really interesting to hear someone with your background to say that most of the people really want to help. So that helps to know that most of these people really just have a heart to help. And then what we mostly hear from your stories, we mostly hear, I moved to 21 different foster homes, and that's the end of the story. We never really hear the complete sentence or the complete reason for that is because the setup or the reason for foster care is supposed the intent all along is supposed to be short term anyway. Hence the moves, all of the that is the reason for all of the moves because it was never meant to be long term to start with.
Yeah, some of the most of the moves. Well, see, it was a mixture. It wasn't just homes. I was also in shelters as well. So I
Wow.
was in 11 homes and 9 shelters, and so it was a mixture. And the shelters are
11
temporary because,
homes and 9
uh
shelters.
yes,
Bless you.
that was the 21. Yeah. So or
And
yeah, 11,
and
10, 10,
then
11.
and then very often you're split from your siblings. Were any of those times were you with your sister?
No.
Mm. Do you currently have a relationship with your sister?
Yeah, it's a distant one, and some of that is my fault as well. Like I can definitely
Mm.
admit that I didn't make it easy when we finally made contact. I didn't make it easy to get close again. I was kind of just to be truthful about it, I was kind of jealous of the situation that happened with her, and so
Mm.
I held on to that for a long, long time, and I didn't let it go. And so whenever I had a chance to say something to her, it usually wasn't very friendly. So that was a lot of that was my fault. We're now talking more, but we're all grown up and past it all now.
So did she have a family that took her in lieu of being entangled in the foster care system?
Yeah, so that was what I was kind of jealous about. Like I stayed with one set of grandparents, then the other set of grandparents, then my aunt, and then my aunt put me in a shelter. But when I finally found out what happened to her, she went that same route, but then she also stayed with cousin here, cousin there. Like everybody seemed like they wanted to keep her within the family. And while I was struggling through these shelters and going through all the bad things that were happening to me, she was staying with family the whole time. And so she was kind of, in my view, getting the good life, like 'cause she's staying with people she knows, and I'm just being tossed around like a kite, to
Maybe you
random
were.
people.
I'm sure it appeared that way. Maybe, and I have nothing to contribute, no insight at all, and probably shouldn't speak on the matter at all. But I'm sure that to them, maybe you were exhibiting something that her what she was exhibiting probably appeared easier to deal with than yours, and you have also been honest about needing the anger management. But I am certain whatever the situation was, just being in it was nothing easy to deal with. I applaud you. This story is it's twofold. It's an example of the strength of humanity in itself, the human, how much the human experience can sustain and overcome. And then it is also an example of what one person, one man, one mind can set out to do and overcome against all odds. Because truly, all odds were kind of stacked against you, James. So kudos to you. And I dare not try to speak against anything that you may have exhibited during those years. But there was a turning point with the family, the Griffiths. Tell us about them. Why were they different?
So yeah, when I met them, I was 15 and I was in my last shelter, and the lady who came to take me out of that shelter and place me with the Griffiths, when she came, she told me, I found you a family to stay with. And I had already moved so many times, I kind of was like, whatever, man. I'm 15. I'm going to probably age out pretty soon. I don't really care what you have to say. I'm just going to do what I got to do until I age out. But when I got to their house, it was very different. My father, he was a military man, and he's very black and white on everything. And I guess I had experienced lots of fluff because during my anger management, I had a lot of therapists who would, oh, James, you should do this, and if you do this, it is bad, and all this kind of wishy-washy talk. But he wasn't like that. He was very drill sergeant-like, and that connected with me very quickly. This is the kind of person that I needed at that time. I needed someone who, because I was 15, I wasn't really trying to hear anybody. I thought I was 15 going on 20. So, I wasn't trying to listen to what anyone had to say, especially anyone who was fluffing or there for a check. But he, he was very, very direct, very clear. If you do this, this is going to happen. If you do that, that's going to happen. There's no middle ground. So you can either do it or you can do this. And this option's always bad. and so, and he was a big fella. He's, that's about 6'3", 260. He wasn't a small fella either. So, there was a little intimidation factor there also. And mom was just she was the buffer because he was very hard. So she was kind of the buffer. And the interesting thing is, when it was discussed about bringing me to their house, Dad said yes. Mom said no. She wanted a baby. But it was me and Mom who got super close at the end of it.
Wow.
And so most of that is because, Dad had his own son, but he was not Mom's son. And so he knew who his mom was, so he didn't call my mom his mom. So she didn't have a kid of her own, so then I became kind of like her kid. And
I love that you call them mom and dad, and that you really honor them as your true mom and dad even till today.
Yeah, I talked to him just the other day.
That's really cool. So what was this anger about, James? Was it because you had suffered abuse at the hand of your biological parents and you were darned and determined not to suffer it again in all of the foster homes, or you did suffer more abuse? Where did all of the anger come from? What were you doing? Did you suffer more abuse? What was happening through all of this before you got to the Griffiths?
There was a lot of different things that happened. I was in survival mode most of the time. I was just trying to survive from one day to another. So you got to understand, when I entered the first shelter, I was 11, going on 12. So I was the youngest. I was usually the youngest and smallest everywhere I went most of the time. And I'm in these juvenile detention centers with these kids who were all bigger than me, and they're also, at-risk kids. And so they would do things to me that, they could do to a kid that was smarter than them. They would bully me around. They would take my food, take my clothes. They would one time they threw me in a dumpster. They would just do these things. They would do these things to me. And so I learned that the only way that I could keep them away from me was by being as violent as possible. Because if you're very violent in a prison type situation, then you start to get that reputation and people leave you alone. So if I wanted to eat my food and not have nobody come try to take something, then anyone who got near me had to get stabbed. That's how it had to happen.
Got it.
So So I had
Well,
to
I
be
would
that
never.
way, and I was like that.
Well, the Griffiths were the answer. They were a godsend, and they tamed the beast. They came along with not only that authoritative means of kind of shaping you up, they put some measures in place that not only helped you to kind of over manage that anger, but kind of led you to some adult successes as well with this martial arts. Tell us about your world martial arts successes and your education. I mean, you've gone on and not only beat the odds, James, and you have completely eradicated, kind of removed the odds. So, I mean, congratulations again to you. Tell us what you've accomplished and what you're doing now.
So yes, when I was with the Griffiths, they put me in martial arts. It was an idea from Mom, not from Dad. Dad didn't think it was a good idea to have somebody who was already violent to learn martial arts. That just didn't seem like a good idea. But mom was cool with it, and the social worker was cool with it. And anytime husband and wife can't agree, wife usually wins. So so I got to go to, but there was there was a there was a caveat to that. The school I went to, they told the sensei there my entire story. So before I showed up, he already knew everything about me. So he was already prepared for me when I got there, and he broke me completely. I have to tell you how that happened because that was probably the game changer, actually. He So the first day I go in and I'm super cocky because I think I'm just going to walk in and beat up everybody and just get a black belt in like 2 weeks. And I actually thought that. And so I walk in the place and there's about 20 people there, and I realize I'm the smallest and youngest one in there. And they're all throwing punches. Yeah, they're all throwing punches and, going, huh, huh. Everyone's, and the sensei's there, and he looks like he's about 70. So I'm looking at him like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to beat this dude up, no problem. So I walked in and I threw my back to the side, and I was like, I'm here, ha-ha. Yeah, right. Everybody stopped. Sensei told everyone to sit down. He looked at me and said, who are you? Now, he knew who I was, but he was trying to prove a point. And so I said, I'm James, man. I'm the man. And he said, well, James the man, you can walk outside, back down the steps, and come back up and bow at the door. And I was like, okay. I looked at him, and I sized him up because that's what I usually do. But I looked at all the other students, and I realized I was probably outnumbered. So walked outside, down the steps, out into the street, and he was watching me out the window. I came back up and bowed, and he said, okay, put your stuff on, get in the corner. I'll teach you how to punch and kick before you can come out onto the floor. So I did that. He taught me a couple of punches, a couple of kicks, told me to practice until I was ready. When the class was almost over, he took me out onto the floor and handed me gloves. And he said, I heard you're a tough guy. I heard that you like to beat people up. So why don't you beat me up? And I was like, are you sure? Because he was old. I was thinking like, man, I'm going to beat the sleeves off you. Are you sure? And so he said, we'll see if I'm sure. 3 minutes. That was the worst 3 minutes of my entire life. I didn't touch him one time. I still don't know how I didn't hit him at least once.
Wow.
And he didn't hit me either. He didn't hit me either, but I hit the floor a bunch of times. And finally, I broke down crying because I couldn't hit him. And then he said, "Are you done?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Fine. Now we can teach you something. So get up, and I'll start teaching you." And that was the beginning of it all right there.
Wow.
And
so you went on to learn martial arts and win championships, and you graduated college. What are your degrees in? You have 2 degrees?
Yeah, I have a bachelor degree in exercise science and an associate degree in nutrition.
Wow, that's wonderful. And you're also speaking and mentoring Who do you speak and mentor to? Are you talking to other youth like yourself, or like you were, I should say, or who are your target audiences to speak and mentor?
I've got a couple different target audiences. My favorite, most enjoyable, is talking to foster parents, social workers, therapists, anyone who's involved in the foster care industry. I like talking to them. Now, I talk to the parents because I have a special training for them that's called the Do's and Don'ts of Foster Care from a Kid's Eyes. And I teach them that. It's a workshop, and I teach them, how we see it. Because a lot of parents who are foster parents, they're regular parents who are just opening their home up to kids, and whatever they learn from a social worker or a therapist, but they didn't really live it. They didn't live it, though. So when they get a kid, they don't really know what that kid is, how that kid's mind is working. And so they like my training because I'm somebody who lived it, and I can kind of give them, the firsthand experience. And that's not to put down social workers or therapists, because they're great at what they do. But there's a difference between learning something from a book and living it.
Yes, I would say so. Hey, James, we have to take a break. I would like for you to stay with us until after the break, if you can. I was going to ask if you were still involved in the foster care system now as a professional or from the outside. And so I hear that you are giving back from the outside. And I would like to learn more about that. If you can stay with us until after the break. Can you stay with us?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Rick, let's take a break, and we will come back and hear more from James Poindexter III.
Daughter of Destiny is what God calls the dynamic woman of God, Dr. D. Greathouse.
Let me tell you something. My life is anything but normal. When the Father and the Son are at the helm of it, and my best friend, the Holy Spirit, is guiding me every step of the way.
Dr. Greathouse's uncommon journey of life has led her to succeed, survive, and accept God's fresh breath of life into her destiny and the lives of everyone she touches through the prophetic gospel and teachings of D. Greathouse Ministries International.
When Jesus came to me in a vision and we were on the mountaintop, he said something to me that has resounded in my spirit for years. And he simply said this: I have blessed you so that you can bless many.
Dr. Greathouse will empower you to walk in the purpose God has for you. Now is your time to experience God's miracles taught in Dr. Greathouse's personalized Gold Faith Package. You'll receive Dr. Greathouse's inspiring CD message, Faith, the Antidote.
I want to talk to you for a moment about the supernatural faith, which is the gift of God.
Learn how the gift of faith given to Dr. Greathouse gave her a personal testimony and an amazing healing from illness. Your healing will begin too as you read line by line of how she was able to forgive and minister after an unimaginable tragedy. She shares it all in her pages of her highly acclaimed book, What About Me? And from Dr. Greathouse's private vault, you'll also receive 1 gram of fine gold to remind you, as God reminded Haggai, silver and gold are his, and with it, he grants the great gift of peace. Get the entire Gold Faith package today for your faith gift of $149.99 or for a gift of $14.99. Receive either the What About Me book or the CD message, Faith, the Antidote. Call 855-334-7316 or log on to thegreathouseministries.com for the Gold Faith package today. That's 855-334-7316 or log on to thegreathouseministries.com today.
Do you need someone with solid, expert communications experience to write your copy or your next press release? Then you need PenStar Communications. Let PenStar communicate your greatest potential with clear copy written for your business and marketing needs. Whether it's your next event or next campaign. Penn Star Communications can write that for you. Visit pennstar.org or call 404-828-0287 today.
I've been in some hard times. I've seen a lot of good times. But every day I count my blessings this way, 'cause I know that every day's a different day. My friends can change, but his will never change. And I knew there would be some time when I would second guess my mind. So I kept on walking, kept on striving, kept on singing. Guess who showed up?
As I walked down the street one day, I thought I heard a brother say, living in bad conditions can make you feel like no one is on your side. That's why I always try and do my best to search inside. But I knew it wouldn't be a day when I had to look the other way. So I closed my eyes and
Well, we are back, guys. We are talking with James Poindexter III. Thanks for staying with us, James. James is a former foster, child who was in a abandoned at 10 years old in the foster care system, moved 21 times in the foster care system between 10 and 15, between the ages of 10 and 15. However, that did nothing to stop him. He more than outbeat the odds, going on to achieve 2 degrees, become a world martial arts champion. He now is the founder and CEO of JH Brands, and just has made great strides and is being more than informative here today about the whole foster care system and his past and the foster care system in the way that it affects others, and information that is important to foster parents and children in the system. Thank you for staying with us, James.
Hey, no problem.
Now, do you have an opinion about what the real problems are with the foster care system?
Yes. Opinions? How long you got, buddy?
Well, I'm sure that you know that what the root causes are with the reasons that children do not get what they need. They need one of 2 things, I would imagine, just from the amount of information that you've given us this hour. They need an assessment to learn, one, if it is a foster care situation where there is a family waiting or a family that is preparing to receive them back, or 2, if they are or going to be adopted in or adoptable, if that's a word. I would imagine the system needs to be framed in such a way that it is making those determinations. And you having been in it so long, I would imagine you know the root causes as to whether it is or is not. Am I close?
Yeah, it's the system. It's a failed system, to be honest. There are 400,000 kids within the system today, and that's a lot of kids, and it's mostly teens because everyone wants babies. So, when the baby's in her foster care or end up being taken away from her home, everyone's ready to grab them because you can change a baby and make them the way you are and things like that. So it's the youth. When they hit 12, 13, nobody wants them at that point. That's when they're really just, being ping-ponged around everywhere. And that's and when they have situations, people want to medicate kids a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge problem. Medicating people doesn't solve anything. And you put a kid on some kind of medicine to suppress issues, but then when they age out, they don't get that medication anymore, and then that's where you get your criminals and your
criminal activity begins.
Yeah, if you have a kid that's on anger management issues and he's taking some kind of a medication to suppress his anger, but then when he ages out, he doesn't have that medication, more. What do you think happens then? So that's one of the things. That's one huge fail is all the work that social workers have to go through to help kids, all the different jurisdictions, all the paperwork, all the ripping and running they have to do. It's really a lot, and there's a lot of levels of rules. Now, they're on the ground level. They're in the field, so they see the issues that are happening, but they have to abide by all these levels of rules above them from that are made by people who don't even see the situation. And that makes things really hard. And the rules that they have to go by, and then all the paperwork that they have to, they're doing half their job as paperwork when they could be helping somebody out instead of filling out paperwork on issues that aren't even serious. It's just
isn't that just the way? Isn't that just the way in business and in life? Yeah, that is unfortunate. So you have these almost hopeless employees just cranking a system that's not really producing what it's needed. Over 400,000, did you say, or 40,000?
400,000.
Wow. Were you adopted? Did your parents adopt you, James?
No, I didn't want to be adopted at the point that. At that point, I was 15, and I was actually going to graduate high school when I was 17. So I just said, never mind. At this point, they're still my parents either way, so it didn't matter.
What do you say to foster parents and children that are possibly listening today? What's the word?
I mean, the word is mindset, and I say that because there's a great quote that I live by from Henry Ford, and the quote is, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. This is a quote that I learned when I was very young, when I was in martial arts. You just have to, ultimately, no matter what issues we go through, it comes down to your choices. And you're going to have a chance at some point to do something that's either going to help you out of a situation immediately, or maybe not immediately, but maybe you're making a good decision for the future. So you can either go, you can either make choice A or choice B, and one of those choices is going to be a good positive one, and one isn't. And it's all mindset. You have to just decide that you want something more, and then start applying that.
Tell us about your book.
Yeah, so my book, actually the digital copies are out now. The paperback is in December 7th. But, it's a guide. So it's a guide for connecting parents and teens. I put foster and adoptive parents, but it's really a parenting book in general. Any parent can take that book and learn something. And it's just a book about get steps. There's different 15 steps on how to connect. So, a lot of kids, when they become teenagers, they're trying to find their identity at that point. Where do they belong? What clique do they belong to? Who they are? And they become different. You raise them all the way to they're a teen, and suddenly they're like a whole different human. And you're like, wow, what is this? Why are you changing? What is all this? And so this book is like the steps on how to reconnect, how to make that connection stay good, and especially if you're a foster parent or someone who wants to adopt, you're taking in a kid that is nothing like you, so they see everything different from you, and they probably don't trust you because they've probably heard everything you're going to say before. They've probably heard it from someone else. So they're walking into the situation, and, think about that. You're walking into someone's house, and they're strangers to you. You're strangers to them. So you both have to figure it out and somehow come together and make this a happy family.
Right.
And so this book is steps on how to do that.
That's good. Every parent needs that. So, James, we didn't talk, in America, race seems to play a part in just about every situation that we encounter, be it family, relationships. When we step outside of our family, I believe race seems to play a part in just about everything we encounter. Hopefully we just see people that's the goal, but that's not the case. What is the race situation inside of the foster care system? Is there an issue larger with the black race than there is the white race? Is there an issue with placement in mixing the races, or what is there an issue at all as race is concerned with the foster care system?
So it's pretty even as far as how many kids between white and races of color. It's pretty even the last time I checked. But the issue is that there's not enough. So they call them beds. Beds meaning, parents who are offering their bed to a child. There aren't enough black parents who are willing to take kids in general. So you end up with a lot of kids who, I was with plenty of white families. I was with several. I was with several who had, dad was black, mom was white, so mixed as well. The Griffiths were the only family where mom and dad were both black. It was either mixed or white for me almost every time.
You're kidding. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. So we need more. We need more of us taking in kids and being willing to, help them become good adults. It's really important because even though it's nothing against anyone, but the fact is that when you're with someone who's like you're more comfortable.
Yeah.
And so that
so
is
you were always in a white home or in a biracial home, and the Griffiths were the only black home that you were in.
Right.
That's interesting. Do you think it was because of the part of the country that you were in, or that is largely the case of the foster care system?
No. It was because of where I was in West Virginia, which is 90% white. So, yeah, it was 90% white.
That is so interesting. Well, because you see these movies with black children being raised by white foster parents, and you think, there's this conversation in the black community that goes, why are they making a movie about white foster parents or white people raising black children or taking on black foster kids, when you would think that black people do it all the time? But I hear you saying that's not necessarily the case. They're making a movie about what is possibly the norm. That is interesting to learn.
Mhm.
That is
I
interesting
mean, and
to
that's
learn.
just from what I've seen.
Wow. What else do you want to share with us, James, before we have to let you go today?
So yes, I'm a speaker, and I love to speak uh, in the foster care realm. I love speaking to social workers and therapists, appreciation, telling them how much foster kids do appreciate the help that they get, because a lot of times they don't get to hear that. A lot of kids age out and just disappear, and they don't want to tell their story, and and so they never come back and tell that story. Or even the ones that turn out very well, that come out ahead, they don't like to talk about it because most of us don't want to be classified as foster kids, so they just want to be normal and put it behind them. But I like to tell people how much we appreciate the help that we did get. Yes, I moved a lot. Yes, a lot of bad happened, but every time I moved was another chance. Somebody did open their home up to me. So I do love to tell them thank you, and I do.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I love that you came out of all of this, with a positive attitude. It's amazing that you were able to remain positive through all of this.
It's not been easy, but yeah.
Do you have a family of your own, James?
Yes, my wife. I've married. We've been married for 3 years, but we've been together for 9. And I have a daughter, Nevaeh. She's 1 year 8 months.
Say again.
My daughter, her name's Nevaeh. She's 1 year and 8 months. And my wife, Renee, we've been together for 9 years.
Oh, how nice is that? Oh, well, tell the listening audience how they can reach out to you, how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, so my website, I have 2 links, inspiredtosuccess.com or jameshpoindexter.com. You can catch me on Facebook. I have a fan page, JH Brands, and my phone number is 858-848-7970. You can contact me all those ways.
Well, I thank you so much, and welcome to the Game Changers family.
Thank you.
Well, take care of yourself, James, and thank you so much for spending this hour with us.
All right, you have a great day. Thank you for the opportunity.
My sincere pleasure. Well, you know what, guys? I love good news. I love bringing you good news. I hope you enjoyed James Poindexter. I sure did. I was and on the Good News Network, there were some foster kids on here, and they were at Disney World, and they got adopted. It's at Disneyland. The story says Disneyland may be considered the happiest place on earth for most people, but it is now especially meaningful for these 2 foster kids. 12-year-old Janelle and 10-year-old Elijah thought that they were just getting a private meet and greet with Mickey Mouse when they were visiting Disney's Magical Kingdom in April. Little did they know, however, that their foster parents had planned a special surprise. Janelle and Elijah were handed a sign to hold for their photo op with Mickey. After they took the photo, they looked at what was written on the sign. Emblazoned on the front was a congratulatory letter stating that Janelle and Elijah's foster parents of 3 years would finally be adopting them. Courtney and Tom Gilmore had originally planned on surprising the kids with the sign at a Mickey Mouse meet and greet, but when they wrote about their plans on social media, Disney offered to host a private session for the foster family. So there you go, a good news story on foster care and foster parents and foster children. I hope you learned a lot from James Poindexter. I sure did. How enlightening, how just very encouraging his story was. There's just so many myths, so much talk out there about foster care that it's just not really half of the story. And for someone to have lived through that and come out blazing on the other side, the way that he has, Boy, can you say game changer? I can. Rick, let's take a break. Let's take a short break and come back and get ready to close the hour. Stay with us, game changers.
The Sankofa Media Group is a mass media company that creates socially responsible, informative, and entertaining content that reaches audiences all over the world. Sankofa Media's leading-edge technology and know-how develops winners into who they were created to be. Timely radio and talent like Blog Talk Radio's Abiding the Tripartite.
God tells us in His Word we can have what we say, but we are always saying what we have. You must believe to the point of expectation, and you shall receive.
In Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner.
I want to talk to the game changers. I want to talk to the ones who the game was changed on, but yet they triumphed. I want to talk to the people who provide a platform for others to change the game for themselves.
Sankofa publishes messages of love, hope, and redemption that connect with us where we need it the most.
The book, What About Me, is a story of the kind of faith and courage that engages the reader to reflect personally and spiritually, especially in these uncertain times of today. It's a great thought-provoking page-turner.
If you're ready to step out of the boat and join the Sankofa Media Group in showcasing your God-given gifts and talents, contact us today at 855-334-7316. That's 855-334-7316.
Gotta get home to my son, cause he's so special to me. I mean, I gotta see him, I need to breathe him. That's my baby, don't call me crazy. I love the studio, but I love him more. Let me give you what I got, so I woke up in the morning feeling fresh to death. I'm so blessed, yes, yes. I went to sleep stressed, woke up refreshed. I'm so blessed, yeah, yes. Water in my face and everything is in its place. Peace of mind, even my grace. I'm so blessed, yes, yes, yes. My grandma almost lived to see 92. I'm so blessed, yes, 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 yes. My son was born healthy and beautiful. I'm so blessed, yeah, yes. My mama's on my right side, daddy on my left. My son, father doing is absolute. I'm so blessed, 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 blessed. Yeah, yeah, yes. And I know what I know. And I know what I know. Trouble gon' happen, it's just the way it be. Ain't nothing coming easily in this life. Sometimes you gotta work and you gotta grow and it gotta hurt. I'm sure you know, take a look around. Woke up this morning listening to this song, you're so blessed. Yes, yes, gonna rock this joint all night long, you're so blessed. Yes, to be up in here. Hands up in the air, waving like we just don't care. We're so blessed, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Up in the morning feeling fresh to death. Went to sleep stressed, woke up refreshed. Mama's on my right side, daddy on my left. I'm so blessed, yes, yes, yes.
Well, guys, we are back. I'm so glad you joined me for another hour of Game Changers we are coming to a close. Just want to tell you to please join us next week. We will have Laura Brown of Where Are They Now, catching up with the great game changer that was with us about 2 or 3 years ago, a financial consultant that you will want to hear from. We'll be in the studio with her, so please tune in. Then the next week, we'll have Dr. Greathouse in the studio, so you will want to hear from her of Sankofa Media, who you're always hearing from on our breaks, our great sponsor and our great woman of God, our prophetess. So you'll want to hear from her the following week. So please stay tuned. In a couple of weeks coming up here, bringing you great game changers. And I have enjoyed the hour with you. So please keep listening. Please keep supporting. And I will talk to you in 623. That's 6 days and 23 hours. Until then, do your best. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner. For more details about anything discussed on the program, go online to www.penstar.org. That's PENSTAR.org. And be sure to follow Lisa on social media. On Facebook, look for Lisa M. Faulkner and follow Penstar Lisa on Twitter and Instagram. And join us every week at this same time for Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner right here on Love 860 WAEC, Atlanta's inspirational talk radio.